Hey folks, so we're going to take some time to go over some fencing materials for your chicken coops and everything. This is probably one of the biggest things that I get as questions or concerns from people. I'm somebody who builds chicken coops for a living, but one of the cheapest things a homeowner can do is build your own run. However, there's some do's and some don'ts, and there are some people who put way too much creativity, and they're trying to protect from everything when you build a run. So let's look at a few things. Okay, so I've got a whole bunch of things that you can find at your local hardware store, Tractor Supply, Home Depot, Lowe's, Agway, wherever you're picking up your materials. So first some language here. This is what the type of fencing that you want to use for your run. This is a base fencing. Now the gaps here are 2 inches by 4 inches. Now that means the chicken can stick its head right through that to graze on the grass on the other side. It also means that, if a predator's nearby and that chicken's sticking its head out, well, the predator can snatch its head and decapitate it. So we're going to talk about using this as the base, the strong foundational base, in conjunction with other things to make a secure run. Now, it's not rocket science. We are not trying to protect it from every possible thing that could happen. We are just trying to set up a quick and simple thing. Now, getting this in the ground, you can use metal fence posts, and you can even like zip tie it to those fence posts, or wrap wire around the fence post to get it tied on there. You can use wooden fence posts, and then use you can use, I don't tend to have a lot of staples around, but you could use staples like this. Now, staples for a staple gun are not something that you're going to want to use. You're not going to want to use these little thin staples like this. They will not hold your fence in. A predator will be able to rip them out. And just with time, and the things aging in time, they'll work their way out. You're going to want to either get staples that are, hammer in staples, or one of my favorite ways is just take the nails that I have lying around my house. I tack the nail in halfway and then bend the nail over. That's right. Do what you did when you were 5 years old and you picked up a hammer for the first time, and bend those nails halfway over, and then you just created your own little staple for attaching these to fence posts. So you're either going to be burying the fence posts, or you're going to be making basically like what's on the bottom of that coop, or a run that extends out. You're going to be making a framing that you can attach those to. Now, I am a proponent for not burying wire. Nobody wants to bury wire. So what you're going to do is you're going to use this on top, on the sides of the coop. You could, on the sides of the run, you could even go over the top of the run with this stuff. Now, this is a 4-foot tall roll. You're going to want to do some math with this. This is 100 feet. This costs $75 at Tractor Supply, 100 feet of 4-foot roll. That's because I use a lot of fencing. Do you need to get a 100-foot roll of fencing? No. You can get a 20-foot or a 30-foot or a 50-foot roll of fencing, and you'll be able to, do what you need to do. Just know that if you get a 4-foot long one, you might be able to cut that in, at half in places, and maybe use 2 feet and 2 feet. The math kind of works out nicer with the even amounts. Now, so let's go over other things. This is called hardware cloth. You might choose to use this. This is 1/2-inch gauge hardware cloth. You do not want to use anything smaller than that. This, as they get smaller, this is 1/4-inch hardware cloth. As they get smaller in the dimensions here, the wire also gets thinner. I actually don't use this on my coops, on my runs, because I start off with a strong foundation. All right, this stuff is also really expensive compared to this. This, you get bulk, you get mass, and it's cheap. All right, this is used for small spots, like maybe adding ventilation in the coop, or maybe sealing little gaps and stuff like that. So I tend to stay away from this. It's not that you can't use it. You can use it, but again, you want to stick with a strong foundation, and you would use this on top of the foundation. We'll talk about that. You do not want to use smaller hardware cloth, so let's get rid of that. Now, also, this is screening, actual screening for a front door or a screen door or a screen window. You do not want to use that. That is junk. That is too thin. I use that for other projects, but not for this. Now, chicken wire. Can you use chicken wire? Yes, but not for the run as your primary source. Again, the wire on this is so thin that over time, this will develop, it'll rust, it'll get some gaps and everything, even being galvanized and stuff like that. Like this over time will not hold up nearly as well as this will. However, we are going to talk about using this. Now, attaching fencing. We talked about the nail. We talked about this one, but this is my absolute favorite. I use my nail gun, and this has a washer built right into it. Let's see. Is that no? That's not the right top for that. Let's see the product here. There you go. You're looking for this on your hardware store, and so yeah. 3/4 inch, you don't want to go any shorter than that. If you can get 1 inches, that's going to be better. I buy the 3/4 inch because they are good enough for this. Now they've got that washer. That means that you can tuck this up into the corner and angle it and add tension to this as you're stretching and screwing that into your wooden frame or your wooden structure. Now cutting the wire. So we talked about these are the wires that you could use. Again, strong foundation, and then secondary. We'll talk about the secondary part. Cutting the wire. Yep, you can get away with this. So here's the thing. If you've got a big project, though, I'd like you to step it up, where you're going to switch over to maybe some nippers, where you can cut more than one strand at a time. And if you happen to have an angle grinder and you get one of these little metal grinding blades attached to it, you know, these you can zip through quite a bit of fencing that way. However, you do gotta, it's gonna be loud, and most importantly, you gotta wear this. It's gonna be throwing around shards of metal everywhere. So if you do step it up to an angle grinder to cut through your wire and to zing through that project fast, wear your safety goggles. Okay, zip ties though, again, like I said, zip ties are gonna be a friend in doing this cheaply. Now, predators that dig. You don't have to bury your fencing. So here's the thing. Imagine that this fencing is a line of fencing. What you can do is you can take your chicken wire. Now this is 2 feet of chicken wire folded into an L shape, and then you just bring it up that L shape. There you go. The L shape here and here. Zip tie it to the fence, and then what happens is this bottom part down here. As a predator comes along, now most predators that are going to dig, they are nocturnal. They're going to be coming along at night. They're going to dig right where they can smell the edge of this. They're not going to back up and be like, oh, well, here, there's fencing here. I'm going to back up and dig over here. No, they're going to dig. They are driven to dig right at the edge where that fencing starts. And so they will not be able to get in. Their feet, their pads, and their paws will get stuck into this, and they will not be able to get in if you do that along the whole edge. Now, if you take this and also put it on the inside of the run, now what that means is that for the most space, your chickens will have free access to that, but it'll also stop your chickens from poking their heads out of the run, and it'll stop them from digging at the edges of the run and actually digging their own way out of the run. So here's the thing, is that I don't hold chicken wire with high regard, except chicken wire can be used in conjunction with a strong base and with zip ties to zip tie that L shape to the base of the fencing, the base of your run, to prevent predators from getting in and to prevent your chickens from digging their way out. Now, I didn't talk about one more thing. I'm going to actually walk over here. Hawks, that is your daytime predator that you probably have to worry about. And where are we? Here we go. Supplies. Deer fencing. This is a quick way, if you've got a big run, a big area that you have to cover. Hawks have amazing eyesight, and they are not flying around at night. They are going to be flying around during the day. What you can do is put this over your run and use, again, zip ties again to attach this to the top of the run, and that'll protect you from hawks during the daytime. Now, again, that's not to say that you can't use this welded wire fencing over the top of your run as well. It's just going to be, a little more cost in the whole scheme of things. So that netting that was over there, that deer netting, you get 100 feet of it. That's going to be enough to do a whole run to cover the top of it. And that goes for about $10, $15. However, do not leave that plastic mesh netting on the ground, or else you will catch snakes, and you will kill snakes, and you will be, sad that you did so. All right, now this stuff on the ground. This will not catch snakes because this is rigid. This holds its shape. The netting wraps itself around the snake, and it gets tied in knots. Snakes will not get trapped in this, so don't you worry. All right, so you're hearing that I'm saying, you don't necessarily need to go with this, because this costs more per square foot, per linear foot, than chicken wire. You do not want to fence your whole thing in chicken wire because it's just not sturdy enough to hold up. you want to fence with a 2-inch by 4-inch welded wire fencing. Now, the height of it depends on you. I buy them in 4-foot tall rolls, knowing that I could use the whole 4 feet. Dimensionally, that's nice, or I could cut it in half and use 2 feet at a time. So, and again, you're hearing me say metal posts or wooden posts, using staples, using these screws with washers maybe to tighten up that, maybe even using nails to tie them in, cutting them. You know, we're kind of going through the whole process here. I want you to see that this, creating a run that is maybe 10 feet long by 10 feet by 10 feet, coming off of a chicken coop and everything. If you just think about that, that's going to be 10, 10, 10, 10, 40 feet, 40 feet. And if you got a 50-foot roll of this, that's going to be plenty to do that perimeter. You'll even have some left over. Now, remember, then you'd buy a roll of chicken wire that's 2 feet long. You'd bend it into an L shape, and one roll of chicken wire is going to be enough to go around the whole perimeter of that 10-foot by 10-foot area. And then you could buy a bit of netting to go over the top. Okay? Of course, you can make this look better. But this is just to get everybody just set up with something that is secure. I hope that you're seeing that this is going to prevent your chickens from flying out. It's going to prevent hawks from getting in. It's going to prevent your chickens from digging out. It's going to prevent predators from digging in. It's going to have such a sturdy backbone to it that something with claws is not going to be able to pry its way into your run. We're really talking about making, not Fort Knox here, but we're talking about making something that is secure, but is not going to break the bank, okay? Putting up wooden posts is going to be the cheapest way. The next cheapest way is going to be getting pressure-treated lumber and then framing it out, okay? But wooden or metal posts is going to be, you know, thinking about the posts, you know, you're thinking $5 to $10 per post. If you got 4 posts, there you go. You got $20 to $40. Maybe another, $30 or $40 in fencing. Again, maybe the netting. You've got this that might be another $10, $15, and the and some zip